All right, week 5 college football breakdown here. Moving on to Saturday night. This is going to be a doozy of a game, and maybe not in the way you expect. LSU traveling to the Plains to take on Auburn. Seeing LSU as 8.5-point road favorites in this spot, and a pretty low total at 46.5. This got up to 9 earlier, and I fired on Auburn plus 9. 1 unit official play for me. Are we just going to forget that how LSU looked against Florida State a few weeks ago? I know Auburn struggled a little bit defensively against Penn State. I would argue that Auburn's going to be able to do the exact same things to LSU's offensive line that Florida State did. Are we just going to forget that happened? I will say Jaden Daniels for LSU was a huge pickup for Brian Kelly because having a mobile quarterback is a must with this offense right now. Their offensive line is terrible. I mean, I was trying to be nice about it coming into the year when I was doing my preseason videos. I was saying, I don't want to say they're bad, just not LSU standard. No. This is a bad offensive line. I mean, gave up 4 sacks to New Mexico last week. They got dominated in that Florida State game. This is a bad offensive line. Thank God they have Jaden Daniels. Obviously, people are extremely low on Auburn, and I get it. Got blown out at home by Penn State, and they should have lost last week's game to Missouri. I'll be the first guy to say that. I mean, Missouri found ways to lose that game. Auburn was lucky to survive. This is a major step-up spot, though. You've got a team that has new life at this point. Saw their season basically crashing down in front of their eyes a week ago. You find a way to win that game. Now you come back home, play LSU at night, and you're catching over a touchdown. This is just a spot that I expect Auburn to step up in quite well. Obviously, Brian Harsin is basically coaching for his job, so he's going to throw everything at the wall. I think these players are going to come out with an inspired performance, and I know you can't necessarily handicap that, but I think the likelihood of that happening in this particular matchup is far greater than the likelihood of them coming out flat. So I'm just going to leave that there. And back to kind of the matchups. Daniels has been pretty good as a passer this year, well over 70%. But I will say, when you don't have a good offensive line, those slower developing plays, don't have time to develop. So he hasn't been as big of a threat in the vertical passing game. And having a bad offensive line, it's hard to establish any sort of run game. So I think LSU's offensive line is really just going to hold back their offense throughout the season. And I think that's going to be true in this matchup, playing on the road against a team that, while their defense hasn't been great this year per se, still think they'll be able to take advantage in this matchup. Obviously, Auburn's offensive situation is less than ideal, and I get that. Looks like it's going to be Robbie Ashford going for the Tigers once again. I think that gives them a better chance to win, though. I think he's got better passing numbers this year than TJ Finley. A little bit of a smaller sample size, I get it. Brian Harsin's commitment to use Robbie Ashford in the run game, I think that gives defenses another key element they have to worry about, whereas TJ Finley is more so kind of just a standard drop back passer. This Auburn team is never going to have success doing that. They don't have the wide receivers to do it. This year, they will never be a team that has success in the drop back passing game. I think they need a mobile quarterback, and I think Robbie Ashford gives them that. We know what they have at running back. I know Tank Bigsby hasn't really gotten going this year, but will it be more of a ball control, keep away approach? Maybe. I think they'll be able to have some success on the ground, though. The one thing about LSU is I obviously lost one of their important pass rushing pieces in that game 1 opener against Florida State, Mason Smith. I don't think it's a bad defense whatsoever, but I also don't feel great about them enough to where I think they're just going to be able to completely dominate in this matchup like Penn State did. I mean, Penn State has maybe the best cornerback in college football, and Joey Porter. Penn State has got some elite players on that defense that I just don't think LSU has that can really just kind of take certain elements of Auburn's offense away. So I think this is much more of a one-possession type game. I wouldn't be surprised if Auburn wins this game outright. I think this is a bad line. I know people are going to point at Auburn should have lost last week. This is a new life, major step-up kind of game. And I think Brian Kelly at LSU, kind of more macro, he's going to be dealing with issues that I think a lot of first-year head coaches have to deal with. From a team-building culture standpoint, when things fall with teams like this, they fall quick. Like I said, do we not remember what happened after this team lost to Florida State? You had Kayshon Boutte, make a whole deal about deleting his Instagram. And this team is not solidified enough to be laying this much in this particular matchup. I refuse to believe it. I saw this line over 7. I ended up getting this at 9. It's at 8.5 now. I would still play it at anything over 7. I think this is just a bad line. I think Auburn steps up in this spot. I think it'll be a one-possession game down to the wire. Before we get out of here, guys, I know you've been staring at the shirt the whole time. If you're wondering how you can look as cool and sexy as me, let me tell you, Proud 90 Proud90s.com. Unique but very comfortable polos as well. They got t-shirts, hoodies, quarter zips. Recently added a ladies line. Proud 90s got all your golf apparel needs. Browse their selection. If you see anything you like at checkout, use code Fordham. It's going to get you 15% off your entire order. Check the description for more information.